As you can probably guess from the title, we've been consistently exposed to the opinion that Quest 64 is an inherently bad game.
Me, I've never played it, but Jordan is a Quest 64 veteran. That's great though, as this video will show you two perspectives. The kid in 1998 going in blind, me, and the adult in 2026 with a lot of runs under his belt, Jordan.
Growing up in the 90s, I was blessed with playing some of the finest RPGs that are still critically acclaimed to this day. We're talking Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, and even Mystic Quest. I don't care, I love that one.
For me, Paper Mario was my introduction to RPGs, and that was pretty much it until learning about Adventure Quest in junior high. Y'all remember that one?
So when the time came around to choose whether or not I wanted the Nintendo 64 or the PlayStation 1 for Christmas, I naturally chose the N64. How could I have gone wrong? I would have had Mario, Zelda, plenty of new Final Fantasies, and Mega Man games to look forward to, right?
Wait, Final Fantasy was on the N64?
Nope, I was sadly mistaken. No Final Fantasy at all. I didn't care for 3D Mega Man, and there was only so much I could get out of Ocarina of Time after I finished it the first 10 times. Also, please don't crucify me when I say this, but I really didn't like Majora's Mask as a kid. The timer was too much for my ADD brain. Especially in a Zelda game where I wanted to explore. I love and appreciate it now though.
My first experience with Majora was the GameCube collection, and yeah, I wasn't a fan of it either.
It took me a while to find any RPG at all for that fact. I remember Ogre Battle 64, Aiden Chronicles. No, oh come on, that one was great. Alright, well what about Hybrid Heaven? No, y'all don't consider that an RPG? I do, just with a lot of different systems going on. That brings us to the last one I recall the most.
And the topic of this video, Quest 64.
Real quick, here's a recap of the story if you haven't played this game before. We start off playing as Brian, a young boy growing up in Melroad Monastery. Grand Abbot tells us that the Eletail book has gone missing, and our father, who has taught Brian to control the 4 elements of water, wind, fire, and earth, has gone missing in search of said book. Let's go find him.
I love that the game jumps you right into it without a long cutscene, unlike Ocarina of Time. Don't get me wrong, I love that intro. The first time. Now it's like...
We search around the monastery for a few chests, then leave to grab our first spirit. See this little stank trail coming out of the ground here? When examined, we get a free upgrade to one of our elements. Obviously we choose water because you learn level 1 healing at 7 water, and level 2 healing at 25. These are hidden everywhere around the world, so make sure you search well.
You know, I really like what Jordan just said because it complements my opinion on the game a lot. As a veteran player, Jordan just knows that water is the optimal choice to pick above the other options. As a newbie though, I would have picked wind, as I love the wind spells in other RPGs. For those in the loop that are dying laughing right now, you know that I would have abandoned the game right away. But for those who are unaware, wind spells are awful in this game, especially early on, and it should be avoided.
There are a total of 98 spirits in the game, and you level up 98 times to choose elements to increase, totaling 196 elements to upgrade. Using this exploit is the only way to max out all 4 elements.
Real quick, if you liked the video so far and want to see more, leave a like and subscribe. Yeah.
Grabbing our wings that we'll never use, at the travel shop, we head to the next shop for absolutely nothing, as we've already got bread. This is one of the biggest reasons a lot of people hate this game, as there isn't a money or equipment system. Shops only give you one thing if you don't have it already. It's completely free, by the way. This is the same thing with monster drops too. Most enemies have a 1 in 4 chance of dropping an item after battle, but you only get it if you don't already have one. I'll take the dewdrops. Nah, man. Nah. Okay, fine. Dragon potions?
No.
I mean, I've already got one, but I'll take the fresh bread, I guess.
Oh, yeah. You already have one? Ah, well, no. No.
What? Oh, why are the pages stuck together? While this seems like a huge negative, I'm going to try and shed some light on why I don't mind this. First off, this game mechanic makes everything you find in the game much more valuable. Even if it's a second loaf of bread, it's still helpful as it's going to be scarce. Second, not finding new gear still has a replacement dopamine hit, since the elements you acquire give you new spells as they add up, making searching for those spirits just as exciting. However, this leads to the second reason this game gets a lot of hate. A lot of the spells that you learn through leveling up are really lame. Plus, you're basically forced into two elements if you know the meta, water and earth.
We ended up doing the meta during our playthrough for the sake of time restraints, but you can assume Jordan has tried every combination to see what does and does not work.
On the surface, I think the variety is definitely here. At its basics, fire buffs, water is utility, earth hits hard, and wind just sucks. It still has debuffs though. As for the famous, it's just a bigger rock or a bigger water pillar argument, you're right, and they are bigger. And the Quest 64 developers opted to add spells in an upgraded form that was easier to hit multiple enemies or to group them up from afar. To me, it's no different than seeing Fire 1, 2, or 3 in other games. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy. It's the same thing, just with different values. Just look, I'm fighting these werehairs, right? I can water pillar level 1 and kill one. Or I can change it to a level 2 or 3 water pillar and hit multiple targets.
Let me chime in real quick. I've played a lot of Final Fantasy. A lot. And their tried and true formula was always, like Jordan said, rewarding the mages in your parties with stronger spells that maybe hit multiple enemies. Fire, Fire, Faraga, you get it. A classic progression. Why is it frowned upon here? You're seeing Brian's magic abilities increase through the spells he becomes capable of casting. Plus, I witnessed a lot of versatile spells as well, like Poop Knife and Escape. In my opinion, Quest 64 spells are great. Except Wind Cutter sucks.
Here's a cool thing about the Japanese version. When a stat increases, you get this neat little shimmer of light that comes from Brian, the color being different for each stat.
Jeez, at this point, we should just play a translated Japanese copy.
Yeah, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's head to the second town, Dondarin, and speak to the king. Our first battle, and it's kind of hard to explain. It's turn-based, but Brian can move around in this grid that appears around him. He can perform one action, but he can take as long as he wants. It works the same for enemies, however. When an enemy finishes casting a spell, it switches back to Brian's turn quick enough to be able to dodge. I really like this, as you have to learn the attacks of enemies and be able to dodge accordingly. For example, a single wind cutter from the werehairs can be dodged by running in a clockwise circle behind it, making it chase until it disappears. Then you've got the man-eaters. You have to dodge the rock that they throw on the first turn, but once you close the distance, you can never get hit because the rock always spawns too high up.
Y'all ever play Eternal Sonata, one of my favorite hidden gem RPGs of all time? Their battle system is similar to that of Quest 64, just more polished. I really like that the game rewards players for learning the enemy patterns. A frustrating encounter for a new player can be transformed into total dominance through patience and understanding.
After a few encounters, we learn the Earth Orb has been taken, so we promptly take everything else the citizens have and head into the forest.
Oh, hey, welcome to the shop. It's really good. Oh, okay. No, yeah, welcome to my shop, I guess. Yeah. No. Oh, you gonna take all my bread? You gonna take all my bread? Cool. Yeah. No, I spent all day making that. Yeah, that's okay. You can. Oh, you're leaving? Okay, cool. It's not like we haven't seen each other. No, it's fine. Go ahead. Take all my bread. No, it's fine. You know, I baked all that bread.
The difficulty spikes up a bit here, so I'm glad I stole all that bread. We've also got healing by this point, so that's good. Since I've been going around whacking things with my stick, my hit points have been going up pretty quickly. When I get hit, however, holy sh**, I've hit a little bit of a roadblock here. Since I've been dodging all these attacks, I haven't received enough hits to increase my defense, which conveniently leads me into how stats increase in this game.
Jordan with the segue!
Like I said before, whacking things increases my hit points, and defense is increased by getting hit. There's other stats I want to go over as well, agility and MP. Agility can be increased in two ways. It slowly goes up by running around the world map, and in battle, it will increase depending on how far you ended Brian's turn from where you started on the grid. If you decide you can just go with the classic rubber band method and leave your game on overnight, I'm going to warn you, there isn't really a balance here. Most enemies will never hit you, or when they actually do, expect to be killed. MP is increased by casting spells. So, while I love this game, I'm split on this because no matter what you do, the grinding is going to be a little tedious and counteract each other. The best way, in my opinion, is to fight an enemy like these Frog Knights and just let them beat the out of us with wind cutters. I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy II for that reason as well. I found it was just more efficient to go outside and throw a knife in front of my 4 party members, winner take all, rather than just actually playing the game.
Funny enough, I actually disagree with you. I love this gameplay mechanic, and I think it adds to the game, not take away. I think the problem is your initial mindset. You see this mechanic and you immediately think, how can I exploit it to beef up my party early on? And that will absolutely ruin your experience. If you play the way you'd naturally play, your characters will naturally morph into a specific playstyle tuned to you. Always dodging while using MP heavy spells, Glass Cannon Mage. Taking hits while using fire, Physical Tank with high HP. Min-maxing every stat as much as possible before proceeding to the next section, Burned Out Adventurer with Baker's Lung. My point is, when you forget you're playing the game and focus on the role-playing part more, this gameplay mechanic is way more solid.
Back to our forest situation, I've realized to get MP back, you just have to run around, and it gradually refills. We can use this to our advantage because there are some areas in the game where the camera can't get into its set position when a battle starts, so we can run around between grinding. After a bit of grinding and exploring the forest for a few spirits, we find Solvering the Beast King. Oh, listen to that. The boss music in this game is great. It really gets that battle to the death vibe. The regular encounter music isn't bad, it just doesn't have that catchy Uematsu bass line. To top it off, some fights are really long, so you're going to be hearing it a lot.
The music in this game is fantastic. It hits all the notes I expect in a soundtrack. Typical towns, ominous areas, kick-ass bosses, and atmospheric forests.
Solvering here separates the boys from the men, the werehares from the werecats. Most people quit here, and I understand why. Without an understanding of how the stats work in this game until now, he will just destroy you until you're out of healing, with no way to replenish it after a game over. You want to make sure to keep your distance, not just from him, but every boss in the game. They all have some form of crazy melee range AoE that will drop you in a few hits. Well, besides one. We'll get into him when we get there. Solvering, from a distance, uses this fire blast in a straight line, but you have a split second to run to the side and dodge it. Keep up on NP and use range. I used Ice Knife. You don't have to aim it, leaving all the attention to dodging. Eventually he goes down and we grab the Earth Orb.
What the hell is Ice Knife?
We head back to Dondarin with the orb for another excuse to rob the secret treasury and head to our next town. Heading back the way we came, we travel towards the boat at the end of the Dondarin Flats. It takes us to the water city of Larapool, my favorite town in the game. The music is super chill, and it's got Layla.
It's important to grab the wings in this town because we have to come back here after the next section.
Heading into the straight line that is Cull Hazard, we push through it for an agonizing amount of time, fighting hundreds of blood gels and skull bats before getting to Normoon. Cull Hazard has wyverns though, and wyverns are cool.
Not to be confused with dragons. Oh, what's that? You don't know the difference between a dragon and a wyvern? So basically...
After our straight run through Cull Hazard, we're graced with Normoon's awesome music. I really love this song. It sounds like old folk tavern music that you would drink ale to.
Another point for the soundtrack.
Talking with the townspeople, we learn that the wind has stopped because Zels has taken the wind orb. It's up to a lone child again to get it back.
Yeah, so the story is pretty basic, I won't lie. Personally, I think it's charming and reflects Brian as a character. Innocent and simple. But I won't disagree if you say the story isn't all that engaging.
This is the point of the game where we learn Avalanche, the most damaging spell in the game. It's completely random, sometimes not even hitting anything at all. But coupled with Spirit Armor level 2, we make quick work of Zels and move on. Thankfully, we remembered the wings and teleport back to Lowerpool to access the Blue Cave. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like.
Ew!
This place is a huge maze. I'm grateful for all the arrows pointing us in the right direction though. And getting to the end of this place leads us to a really cool place, the Isle of Skye. After getting blue waffled in the Blue Cave, we are teleported to a ship, right on the shore of a beach, with a lone cabin in the distance, where the sorceress Colleen is. Damn, yes please.
Jordan, can you please stop? Kirby has to study. He has exams.
Oh, sorry, back on track. This is a good place to farm for some defense if you're not going with water and earth.
If you have been using Earth though, you should have Magic Barrier at this point.
Which just makes you completely invincible for as long as you keep it up. It's pretty much the you win spell. However, it still can miss while casting, so be careful with that. In the US version of the game, the barrier lasts 2 to 3 turns. However, in the Japanese version, it can last up to 5.
We head back to Larapool and take the ship to the next province. In the next town, we learn yet again the fire orb is missing.
We head to the Barragoon Tunnel to find Shilf at the end. Damn, girl. We put up a barrier and rain down hell. Easy and done. I want to give a quick heads up. At this point, you're going to want some more agility so Avalanche doesn't get a mischeck and it actually connects later in the game. Running out of NP if you're using the magic barrier strategy is almost certain death. Leaving the tunnels and into the... Oh, new overworld music. Awesome. We travel across the desert in search of me after Buffalo Wing Night, the Boil Hole. This dungeon isn't very complicated. To be honest, none of them are. There are no puzzles in this game. It's just a marathon, watching Brian run and run and run. The dungeons are just long, and they have dozens of encounters. If you have plenty of stats, and you've been collecting spirits, it's pretty much just easier to make use of running from battle and save magic for the boss at this point. That, of course, being Fargo. And I want to mention that his close range attack is weirdly weak. It only has a 380 base power. For reference, Solvering's Earth Spikes has a base power of 850. Not that we take the damage anyway, we just drop some rocks and move on.
The final stretch of the game brings us across the Barragoon Moor to Castle Brannock. This is worthy of a final dungeon title. It's long and has plenty of bosses, Guilty being the first.
Guilty is the last real wall of the game. He has insane power, all of his attacks will hit you, and he has 1800 hit points, coupled with tons of defense. This is where you're going to want to save up a few of those MP restoring items. After a long slog, he finally dies and we continue on through the castle. At the end, we find Shannon hovering over Brian's dad after she took the Elatail book from him by force. After telling you about Mammon and about being a puppet used to get the book, she forces you to unseal Mammon with the book. We could just leave, no one's stopping us. Hell, why not just use the wings back to Melroad and go back to the Grand Abbot? The story here really falls short for a climactic ending. Look, I didn't even talk to Brian's dad. I just kinda ran past him. Hope you're doing alright, Pops. Could you imagine playing Link to the Past and you're just running past your dying uncle? Screw it, forget the sword, who cares?
Our journey through Mammon's realm was refreshing. It's open and has many dreamlike environments, but damn, don't the enemies here hit hard. It's definitely better to just run from encounters at this point to save your HP and magic for the final boss.
Which brings us back to Mammon. He's... what the For the limitations of the N64, he's alright, but why purple?
Let's talk about the final boss music. It slaps! It really feels like a song that plays after such an incredible, alright journey. It has the ups and downs of the hero going back and forth in a climactic battle. Great ending stuff.
Mammon has a bunch of cool attacks, and I'm sure he's really strong and does tons of damage, but I saved all my MP items for this, and I'm just gonna keep my shield up.
Oh, hey, Brian, you're back. It's good to... Oh, yeah, my dewdrops? No, it's fine. You took all my bread. No, you took all my bread, and all I have left is dewdrops, man. I have a family. Okay, well, I guess I'll see you. I have a family, Brian.
Completely stocked up, ready to drop some sweet rocks without the rolling one, and that's it. We kill Mammon, return the book, save the world and all that. Who cares? It's more about the journey than the reward at the end, right? I'm going to address this here. The game doesn't have much of a story. The only character you see throughout the game for you to recognize is Shannon. And if you've played anything like I did, that didn't even happen because I didn't need to sleep at most of the inns. Look, I know RPGs are supposed to be big in story, and they need that little bit of extra oomph to that grind to make sense of the adventure, to make it feel exciting like no other. But this game takes me back. I remember playing through the original Dragon Quest as a kid, and the only thing that really blocks you progression-wise is your level and equipment. There isn't an NPC looking at you saying, hey, you can't walk past this point. You need to do this before you can have this boat. No. You just got your ass kicked by some scorpion, cried over it, lost half your gold, and moved on. Yes, I'm fully aware the only thing locked off is the Dragon Lord's castle, because you need the rainbow tier. Quest 64 uses powerful bosses as a wall to the next part of the game, and that's it. There may be a whole get this orb thing for me, but I really can't recall a point where they're required in the story. You just kind of have them.
Let me jump in again real quick and say for the record, I think Quest 64 is incredibly okay. Not as bad as the consensus, but not as good as my expectations. Having that nostalgia certainly pushed Jordan to learn the inner workings of the game, enough to bypass some of its flaws, but new players would certainly struggle without a guide.
So that's my conclusion. I can say that my love for this game still exists. Playing it again though, the flaws are there. I know they are. It's just always going to be a good time for me though. And I hope I've explained why. And as always,
Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you on the next one. Make sure to like,
Comment and subscribe.
what he said.